Hey, I'm Dr. Renicki with CellGen Regenerative Medicine in Savannah, Georgia. So very often people ask me, how does stem cell therapy work? Boy, that's a big question. You're talking about taking about 50 years worth of research and discovery and trying to have a discussion in about 2 to 3 minutes of it. But I think I can probably do that relatively well for you. So the basic concept is this, is that of course our bodies are supposed to heal and repair themselves, and one of the main tools our bodies use for that is stem cells. So what a stem cell is, very simply, it's a cell that has yet to specialize or differentiate. And what that means is that it has not yet become a specific type of cell, such as a muscle cell or a bone cell or a cartilage cell. So it still has the potential to become any one of those types of cells. And then the body has certain signals or chemical messengers that will tell that stem cell what type of cell is needed, and then it will split into two cells. One of those becomes another new stem cell, and the other one becomes that specific differentiated cartilage cell or bone cell or muscle cell or fat cell or what have you. So now those stem cells need to be directed to the appropriate part of the body. And how does that happen? Well, when there is injury. When we have injury in our body, one of the things that's supposed to happen is inflammation. You should get inflammation if you sprain your ankle or if you tweak your knee. And that inflammation sends all the chemical messages that cause stem cells to that area to help repair to happen. But one of the things that we've been taught, I would argue perhaps incorrectly, for so many years was that if you have inflammation, you've got to bring down the inflammation. You've got to rest, ice, elevate, and those kinds of things. Anti-inflammatories, things that are designed just to get rid of the inflammation, and that will reduce your pain level, but it also reduces the likelihood of stem cells finding their way to that injured, damaged area. And so now that area very often doesn't heal correctly. It doesn't repair right, and then as a result, you wind up having a problem that progressively gets worse and worse or degenerates with time, instead of getting rebuilt and repaired and regenerating the way this should have happened in the first place. Another issue with this is that if we've got inflammation as the calling card that hails stem cells and says come to this area, what if you got inflammation everywhere in your whole body because your diet is terrible and your diet is full of so many artificial chemicals and things like that, that you got this global inflammation, or there's so much sugar in your diet that just every part of your body is inflamed. Now how do the stem cells know where to go? It's like everybody's calling them all at the same time and they can't figure out where's the right spot to go. So having a bad diet is one thing that can really interfere with that process as well. And improving nutrition is one of the key components of care in our office. We want to make sure that if we're going to be putting the time and the money into putting these stem cells into your knee or your hip or your shoulder or wherever you particularly need them, that they're not going to be getting told that they need to go everywhere and anywhere else as well, because you've got this general globalized inflammation process happening all throughout because of a terrible diet or something like that. The other thing that your body uses to call stem cells to a specific area is platelets. So if you cut yourself, you're going to bleed, and you're going to need, of course, to grow new skin cells to heal that back up, and for that matter, new vein and artery cells, and perhaps even some new muscle or tendon cells as well, depending on what kind of cut it was. And so stem cells are being called to that area by the platelets that will clot that particular cut. And now the body says, okay, that's where we need to go. That's where the platelets are all congregating. And so there is where we need to do some repair. And so it sends stem cells to that particular area where all the platelets are at. And this is the general premise of how platelet-rich plasma works. Platelet-rich plasma is taking blood out of your body, separating it into 3 layers, where the middle layer has all the platelets. So we take that middle layer and now we can inject that into a particular part of your body, and that will again kind of call your own stem cells stronger to that area than to anywhere else, and that increases the likelihood of that area being rebuilt and repaired, or just growing new tissue. If we're trying to use that for facial rejuvenation, sexual wellness, breast augmentation, any of those kinds of things, you can bring your body's own stem cells to that area just as well as you could use it for orthopedic conditions like torn muscles or ligaments or tendons or joints that are being injured or damaged or things like that. So that's probably a relatively good synopsis of how regenerative medicine and stem cell therapy work. And I'd certainly love to see if there's anything that we can do to help you out with that. It's been a pretty powerful tool for me in my health and my well-being, and I would certainly encourage you to find out if this is something that could help you as well. So all you have to do is simply give our office a call. We'll be happy to schedule a consult for you to find out if you're a good candidate for regenerative medicine or not. So as always, please give us any of your feedback with comments or questions below. We certainly love to see what we can do to help out. CellGen Regenerative Medicine in Savannah, Georgia. Thank you.